Hello there everybody, Sam's Trains here, welcome back to the railway. Today I'm going to try and build a kit and I'm really excited about it. I actually got this kit this Christmas, which is pretty awesome, and the kit is this. It is the Timberkits wooden Stephenson's rocket, and I spotted this at the Black Country Museum last year. They had it on display. I was out there with my family, and I didn't say much. All I said was, oh, that looks really cool, doesn't it? And of course, my family being awesome, I ended up getting this for Christmas. So yeah, I'm very lucky. Can't wait to get started with this. In future, I'm going to have to be very, very careful with what I say, because I never know what I'm going to end up with, but I can't deny I'm really looking forward to giving this a go. I think the normal price for this is about £45, but at the time of filming it's reduced to I think £41 on Amazon. So if you're interested in trying this, I'll pop an affiliate link down in the description for you. There is an optional kit that goes with this, which I believe enables you to motorise the Stephenson's rocket. I don't have that, I've just got the loco kit, but maybe if it goes together really nicely, I might try to 3D print some sort of mechanism that will turn it round. But we're going to unbox this today, we'll see what you get inside, and I'm going to try to put it together. Probably going to be a two-part video, but I'm hoping to make some decent progress today. So let's get started. Alright, so Timberkits, I had a quick look at them online. They seem to produce all sorts of different sort of automaton wooden kits and such. Check them out if you're interested. This one says it's fun for ages 9 to 90, which is a bit strange. It's a bit mean on 90-year-olds. If you're over 90 years of age, you will not find this fun. Although I do understand the 9-year-old bit, because obviously it's not fun to choke and die. Although maybe that's why they don't recommend this for over 90s. Maybe they think that a 90-year-old would eat the pieces as well. But regardless, doesn't matter too much. On the front of the box here, it does say that the skill level is advanced, which is slightly worrying. I'm hoping I'll be alright with this, because obviously I mess around with locos and model trains all the time, but I'm still more than capable of messing something up royally, so I will have to put this together very carefully, of course. Right, let's open this box up then and see what we get inside. Pieces of wood, I'm guessing. So we've got the Stephenson's rocket manual here. I'm not going to flick through all of this now because it seems to be quite a hefty booklet, but oh hello. We've got a parts list, it looks like, to start with there, and then presumably this will walk you through how to build the locomotive, which is pretty fantastic. And then it seems we've got all of the different parts sort of compartmentalised, so I'm not going to open these up because the pieces are going to go everywhere. Hopefully these boxes will be in the right order. Hopefully I'll just be able to get the pieces I need to work with to get started. Which seems like a pretty good idea, because this way you haven't got a bench absolutely chock full of wooden parts that you're trying to search through to find the right ones. So I'm going to be very careful not to mix these up. Got all sorts of dowels, maybe these round things are supposed to be bearings and such. Yeah, I've never put together, as far as I can remember, a wooden kit before. So I think this ought to be really, really fun. The size of a lot of these parts seems to be quite impressive. Look at the size of these wheels. Bigger than I remember, actually. And it looks like the wheels, at least, are all sort of laser cut out of wood, which is cool. And then this bottom compartment has come apart a little bit. Again, looks like we've got some discs, pulleys, and that sort of thing. Yeah, can't wait to see how this goes together. And then we've got some accessories in the bottom, it looks like. No idea what that thing is. I guess that will become clear. This ruined part, that's a shame. That looks like it's the rocket's chimney topper. That's just a bit of card by the looks of things. Hopefully that will be salvageable. We've got a tube here. Is this glue or lubricant? Glue, I think it is. So that's what you use to glue it together. Glue included then. That's pretty nice. What have we got here? Use the wax candle provided to wax all the surfaces which are in contact as they move. Right, so that seems to be some sort of attempt to reduce friction in the mechanism, which makes sense. We've got a piece of sandpaper. Okay, so I'm guessing that some of these parts may need some assistance in fitting together. And then we've got a ruler with, it's like a piece of card with a ruler printed onto it. So yeah, it does seem as though there is going to be some work to do on this. It's not just slam the parts together. presumably you've got to measure something. There's a bit of sanding, a bit of gluing involved, so it does sound like a good challenge. Let's try and get started. I'll have a look at the manual and then we'll give this thing a go. So I've got the instructions open on the first page of things to do. Looks like the layout is kind of a little bit confusing. We've got 1A, 1B, 1C, 1D. So you've got to look out for the lettering. There are different symbols throughout the booklet which are explained. They're defined at the start. So you've got the little clock which shows how long you've got to wait between certain steps. Wax symbol there, that's it shows when you've got to put this wax on the parts. This thing is apparently a glue guard, so you put this between different pieces to stop them being glued together for a couple of minutes. And then the G sign obviously is glue, and the G sign with a cross through it says don't glue. Alright, seems fairly simple enough. So let's take a look at what we need to start with. And all the different dowels and such are sort of labelled with their dimensions in millimetres, which means jump cut to another one of the very best Christmas presents I've ever received. This thing is awesome. Set of calipers so I can easily measure the parts. Right, let's get started. So big thing here, number one. I've seen that already, and straight away I can see we're putting wooden dowels into it. So yeah, everything we need for the first part is not just in a single tray. So yeah, it's going to be a bit fiddly is this, but that's all right. How's the manufacturing? Yeah, it all seems to be nicely made. It's not that sort of thin, really weak, flimsy feeling wood that you might expect from a kit like this. So yeah, I think that's reasonably impressive. So we've got to thrust a 3x16mm rod into this disc. So let's see if we can find one of those. Oh no. The tape is sticking to all of the dowels and pulling them out of the tray as I peel it off. That's annoying. Yeah, there we go. So it's that one. And we've got a glue symbol here, so it's got to be glued, and it's going into that hole down there. Might need to go and get a bog roll so that I can mop up any excess glues. Someone's obviously had a curry or something, because there's not much of this left. Right, sorry for showing. Is that a faux pas to show a bog roll on camera like that? I don't know. I did it anyway. Right, 1B is to fit the second rod in there. I'm guessing, well, they haven't put the measurements down for that one, so I'm guessing that's this big one in here. I think what we're making here is one of the, like the safety valve or something that pokes out the top of the firebox. Apply a fair bit of glue, not too much, around the edge of it. And then I'll stick it in and try and match what it looks like on the image. Right, so 1C, yeah, we are going to be gluing this. So just a little dab of glue. Apparently we're supposed to have 3mm of this protruding. Oh, okay. Now it's worth pointing out that this ruler that they've sent wouldn't help very much here because it's not cut off at 0. So I think my friend the calipers is going to be the most useful tool in this job. Do you know what though? The fact that you can get this wrong, the fact that you can cock it up, is quite enjoyable to me, because it means, you know, it's on me to get this right. All right, and then that's poking out at the front end here with approximately 3mm sticking out. I really hope the exact precision of this is not too important. But that is I think as close as I would reasonably have gotten to 3mm with this thing. So I'm hoping that's okay. Then 1D is to fit the sort of boiler banding thing to it. So I think it's fairly obvious which piece I need for that. And it does say to use glue on this part. So I'll be doing that. A bit extra in that hole because that dowel came out. Quite a tight fit on that dowel. Okay, so next it looks like we've got to glue 4 of these 3x12 dowels in. So let's see if we can find that. They all have the same size, I think. That's 3. And that's 12. Right, so we need 4 like that. And these need to go into the holes. Okay. That seems straightforward enough. So I wonder what these spikes are for. I could be completely wrong. This might not be anything to do with the firebox or the boiler. Probably going to be something to do with holding, either fitting the boiler onto the frame or holding the cylinders and such onto it. Probably a bit of both. I don't know yet. We shall find out. Right, which is going to be that one, I should imagine. Tell you what, this has got quite a bit of heft to it now. It's going to be quite a weighty model, I would have thought. It looks on photos and such like it would weigh nothing, and it's, you know, really flimsy and light. I don't think it's going to be. I think it's going to be quite a hefty model. Right, I just want to put some clamps around that and let it sort of set, but we've got to press on. And then we've got number 5, which I think is going to be this. Is that the right one? Seems to be. The secret is, I think, with the gluing, to use a small amount. It's tempting to put loads on there, but loads of glue just takes ages to dry. And then we want another one of these circular pieces. Look at that, by the way. I managed to get that 3mm spot on. Look at that. Look how flush that is. So, yeah. If you were imprecise with that 3mm measurement, it wouldn't have mattered too much, I shouldn't think, but it would show you as a sloppy workman, wouldn't it? It would show that your accuracy was poor. So I'm glad I got out the calipers to measure that. Right, maybe this is going to be, yeah, I think this must be the front of the boiler or the smoke box, if you will. So this is tricky because you've got to line these holes up at the top. So if you put it on like this, then obviously the chimney will stick out on one side, which is not ideal. So the chimney is going at the back of this piece, not at the front. See, there's some pitfalls. If I glued that on that way, which you could easily have done, then the chimney would be in the wrong place. Yes. So you've got to pay attention to the diagrams, and I'll bet you any money, I'll bet you anything that I will fall down on that at some point. That is my guess. Right, so the chimney goes close to the rest of the boiler, and that has to line up. The burning of the laser cutting has made the banding on the boiler, which I think is awesome. What a great idea. Maybe I should design 3D printed locos like this. That's really cool. And then we've got a matching piece which fits on the end. That is part 7, right there. Do you think that's it? I think that must be it. Right, not much dowel left to put this on with. Very little left. There's nothing poking out this end, and there's only a fraction poking out that end. So we are very lucky that this dowel isn't any shorter than it is. I can really push this down now. Okay. So, I mean, this is a great first step, isn't it? Because it's starting already to look like a locomotive, which is good. It's gives you some confidence, doesn't it? Okay, so 1G is down here instead of like next to H, as would be alphabetically correct, but it doesn't seem to matter too much. I did say at the start I'm going to have to pay attention to the alphabetical order on this, and yeah, that's proved to be true. So we need, these parts are not labelled in their size. So we're basically assembling the chimney here. That looks like the top part. And that looks like the secondary bit of the chimney. Well, it was with these other parts, so I'm guessing that is correct. So that has to glue together, I believe. And if I've used any of the wrong parts here, then heaven help me. It is nicer when the measurements are shown, actually. Maybe there are no other parts even remotely similar to this, but to have the measurements, and then it just makes you feel a bit more sure about what you're doing. But there we go, little chimney, let's pop that in. Right, so that should fit in there, and it does. So before I shove it in, let's get some glue in there, and that just goes in. Right. And then it looks as though there is a circular sort of cover that we put over the front of the boiler so that we can't see the hole where the dowel is. Right, so we're going to have to put some effort into making sure that that is level. Okay. So there's no sort of guiding parts that make sure this locates this time, so it's just got to be done by eye, I should think. Oh, that's a good push. So that has gone on the front end, and now we've got a similar piece which will go on the back end like this. So I think it's this one, and that goes on there. So I don't know why this one gets a locating part. I'm assuming there might be something else that sticks on this. It looks as though we're supposed to have this thing poking out the back to mount onto this block, but I don't think there's going to be much of it poking out. Hopefully it won't force itself even further in. Right, no, I've got a bit of it. I've got like maybe a millimetre or two sticking out. Right, oh, look at this. It's pretty heavy. Do you want to know the weight of it? No, that's incredibly sad and nerdy. Nobody cares. But I want to know. So already we're at 90 grams. So yeah, it's going to be a hefty thing, I should think. Right, there's a big block to fit on next, as you can see, and that sort of locates into that hole. I'm going to go and clamp this, I should think. But I don't know, I'm just trying to think if I've got a clamp wide enough, and I don't think even my vise is wide enough to clamp this. So, good luck to me. If I use a small enough amount of glue, it should grip fairly quick. And it's got to be level, of course. I think that might be all right though. So 30 minutes, it's 9 o'clock. So I'll leave this till 9:30 until I touch it again. Just make sure it's square. All right, say goodbye to the boiler firebox combo. Put that over there. I wanted to clamp that really, but I haven't. Right, so we've got the lollipop sticks now. We've got to find, again, these don't seem to be labelled, but obviously these are the big ones, and there are no other ones this size. So I think they must be the 15 ones. And then we've got 14 here. Probably not that one. I'm guessing that one must be 14 maybe? It must be, I don't know, but I think so. I've spent long enough now looking for it, so let's try now putting this together. Just need to work out how I'm going to do this. So it's going to be something like this. So they hold together like so, and I can put this over the top to keep them parallel, sort of. Yeah, and I can leave that for 30 minutes. So I need to do this over there so that I don't have to touch it and move it after I've done it. Okay, let's try. Right, you probably can't see this too well, but I'm literally just sticking this thing across these two lollipop sticks. So I've tried to get those as parallel as possible. So in 30 minutes we will find out whether I was successful. Probably not. No glue on the sort of piece that you make sure they're parallel with, obviously. And now we're messing around with the boiler again, so we're going to have to stop recording for 15 more minutes until the 30 that I'm supposed to allow the glue to dry has elapsed. So see you in a little while, folks. Okay, we are back. The allotted time has now passed, and I reckon things are now going to start getting serious. Incredibly, it looks like this tool that was used to ensure the parallelity of those other parts is actually a part of the model. It's going on to the bottom of the firebox, which is interesting. So that's being glued on like so in just a moment. And then that frame that I've assembled over there is eventually going to go onto the base of the boiler and such. So yeah, let's get this started. Okay. And I think this just goes right at the bottom of the firebox. This makes me nervous. It's great when there are pegs and stuff holding parts into the right position. When there aren't, it's a lot more pressure to be accurate. I'm still conscious that this glue has only had 30 minutes of time to dry, so I don't want to be too rough with this piece. But next, there are 2 parts labelled 17 that have to be fitted to the bottom of the boiler. It's going to take me a while, I should think, to find them, even though in theory it should be a lot faster now to start finding parts. Ah, yes, I think that must be them. Right, so these are going to be fitted like this. And we're also going to need these. So these should also help, I should imagine, to hold everything together. Like that. So, right. I have a bad feeling about this. So we've got to glue these in, and it says while the glue holding the 2 parts 17 is still drying, position and glue the frame built in section 3. Adjust the 2 parts 17 to fit against the inner rims of the frame. Right, so it's going to be a small amount of glue on these 2 bits, 17. Then the frame's got to go on. I've got to glue them in 4 places. So yeah, this stuff is getting serious now. You just put them in roughly the right position to start with, apparently. Oh, Lord. Alright. Yeah, this makes me nervous, does this. This piece has to go somewhere on here like this. So we're going to put some glue on these bits and on here. Oh Lord. And then I think we want some glue against these parts. Oh, blimey. Suddenly my confidence has been zapped in what I'm doing here. Hopefully this is going to be correct. So that goes there. Oh, I've got glue in the wrong place there, I think. Oh no, perhaps not. Yep, it's falling to pieces. Ah yes, okay, so then we've got these axle holding things. Let's move this into shot, which does sort of bond these parts together that I've just put in. Sort of. So we're going to have to get a good covering of glue on these bits, because something tells me they're quite important. Ah, yeah, I really hope that the rest of it is not this fiddly. Yeah. So I can at least clamp these parts together, I think. Oh God. Stressful. Right, so those are now firmly together, which makes this part a bit easier to manipulate now. I think I'm going to have to clamp those together as well, you know. It's a good job I've got lots of these clamps. Right. Yeah, I really would be stuck if I didn't have clamps, so I don't know how someone without this sort of thing would get on with this. I don't know. Yeah, it's looking a little bit on the wonky side, but I've done the best I can. Crikey. Okay, so that's going to one side for 30 minutes. I'll keep track of the time on that. The next part then is part 5, and that involves what appears to be at a glance this piece and 2 size 20 rod thingy-bejiggies, which don't go where you'd expect them to go like this. They go on the back end, apparently. And I don't even know that these are the size 20 rods. Let's see if we've got any measurements to help. 20 times 2, it says, and they're not to scale. That doesn't scale with anything in the pack. It would be really good if it was clearer which parts were which. Because I got 2 of these, are they 20? And I got 2 of these, are these 20? Because these are sort of wedge shaped, which means that these are going to be, I would guess, something at an angle. So I think it's going to be these that are 20. I've got some more clamps actually, so I could clamp everything in the interests of being a bit better of a workman, but we'll see how this goes. And then next we've got part 6, which involves this thing by the looks of it. This is a distinctive piece, so there's no confusion about what this is. Look at that, it's quite a complex little piece there, nicely made. And then we've got 5 by 16 mil rods. It looks like 2 of them. Well, they're more like 6. But they are 16, so maybe these are 5 mil? See, this is dodgy without calipers like this. Right, so that's 5 mil just below, and that's 16 just below. Man, I did look at some of the reviews, and quite a lot of people did struggle with this. A lot of people were saying a lot of guesswork is involved, you know, etc., etc. I don't blame them for saying that, really. I think, yes, it is a little tricky. This one seems to be a much looser fit than the other one, but it is the same size. Right, so these just, apparently these just slot in like that with a little bit of glue. Okay, let's wipe some of this excess. And then the next part is another quite distinctive piece, which seems to slot in at the back here with no glue. So maybe this is one of the first moving parts, is it? I don't see no sign of any wax to put on this stuff, so maybe it's just not supposed to be held together. Right, and that is supposed to go in like this apparently, without glue. Could be something valve gear related maybe. Yeah, something cool, something that might rotate. Okay, and that goes in also without glue apparently. And that does seem to be a fairly freely moving piece, so good. Great news. Okay, it then reveals that on the other side we are supposed to put some glue to hold that in. Right, so pardon me for not looking ahead to the next step. Well, still on the previous one, so a little glue in there. That piece didn't seem like it wanted to go anywhere anyway, so hopefully that will be okay. But right, now we've got these, which at a glance look like these, parts 23, and they need to fit without any glue onto these rods that poke out the side. I feel like those holes look like they're different sizes. This feels like I'm being set up for another pitfall. Let's double check. So the diameter of that hole is 6.5 mil. The diameter of that is 5.5, so yes, I was being set up. And there was no mention of this on the diagram, except it does look like the smaller hole is what goes around there. And I'm guessing it's the same on the other side, yeah. You can't leave anything to chance with this. Right, it shows that these are supposed to move. And then on E, we need, oh, well this is, oh, crikey. We need these parts, which are designed to stop glue going into where it's not supposed to be. And then we've got some little discs, which are part 24. And we've got all sorts of discs in here, so it would be awesome to have the exact measurements. Oh, this tape, crikey. So do these fit? That's the next question. Do these fit flushly? Yes, right. I think after a long and dangerous search, I think we have found part 24, which is supposed to be glued in position. So, wish me luck. Put some glue on the inside surface, and then I'm going to sort of twist this on so that the glue goes all over the peg. And hopefully now we are supposed to leave this piece to dry, because it needs that. There. What a monster that is. And these parts should still be free to turn, which they are just about. Okay. Oh, wheels. Right. Are you ready to start on the wheels, everybody? Well, regardless, I'm ready. So let's have a look. So we've got Oh, I take it back. We've got different sized wheel rim parts. But this shouldn't be too bad because we can use our train knowledge to figure out what needs to happen here. So I think this back larger piece is to be the flange, and the smaller piece is to bulk up the wheel a little bit. Okay. I'm very glad this thing isn't actually going to run on rails, so we put it that way. Right, so we're doing this twice by the looks of things, identically. So this is, I think, the flange that I'm putting on now. Try and get that centered. And then we put this piece on, which is the front of the wheel, and then that goes on like that. Try and get that on flat. Supposed to leave these for 10 minutes. Oh, I just want to go and trap this in my clamp, don't I? Yes, I'll allow myself that little pleasure. This is fun. Okay, so both wheels are glued and clamping together. The 10 minutes is almost up on that, which means now we can start looking to the next part, which looks like we're starting to do the cranks, crank pin, that kind of stuff, and the axles. It looks like the crank pin holders are part of the axles, so that's what we can start working on. So for 8A we need the 6mm by 90mm rods, so they're pretty big thick ones. That might be 90mm. Let's see if it's 6 diameter first. Yeah, close enough. Ah, have we got it first time this time? This is supposed to be 90. Oh, we got it. Right. And it's strange because normally when you're working on a locomotive, you'd expect to have several of these for the different number of coupled wheels, but of course the rocket only runs on a single pair of driven wheels. So that's all we've got. So let's pop some glue on the end of this rod. I hope to God this is right. Wipe that off. Where's my bog roll? Keep flashing this thing, it's going to get X-rated, isn't it, this? Right, there we go. So the wheels are fixed to the shaft, but we knew that because obviously the crank pin is as well, so it needs to be. So this goes through the front end as you'd expect, and we can probably glue this whole assembly to it. So that should be good. Yeah, not too much on there, otherwise it'll never go off. Let's see, how do they line it up? They lined it up right between two of the spokes, so I'll do the same. And then there is another like spacer on here, which looks to be part number 30, and that does also have glue, which is unexpected. Right, spacer. On it goes. Nice, look at this, we've got a proper Stephenson's rocket. I was going to say axle, but it's like not finished yet because we haven't got the other wheel on. Of course, we can't put the other wheel on until it goes on to the rest of the model, so I think that will probably stay like that for a little while. This looks rather complicated. So we've got these things here. I think this is what we need next. I have no idea what this is. I would think something to do with the cylinders maybe, but so that goes in first. But do we ram it right in? Yeah, this looks like it could be a cylinder or something like. Okay, remove the excess. Okay, both of those things are now assembled. I didn't make you sit through me assembling the second one because obviously it's much the same. So now we're going to move on to assembling these parts. I've already spotted what might be the right bit. I think these are the right pieces, so we've got those. Small glue. And these are the same on both sides. I'm still conscious of all the pitfalls that I could fall into. This is great. I really am enjoying this. It feels like you've got some responsibility. You're not having someone hold your hand right the way through it. You know, if you're not concentrating or if you mess something up, then it will go wrong and you'll have wrecked it. So yeah, I don't know, it's just higher stakes than maybe putting a Lego kit together or something. I don't know. Maybe people would hate that. But that's what you've got, like it or not. Oh, there's a potential to cock this up, folks. So one of them goes on like that, and the other one goes on the other way, with the other end there. All right, well, so thank you instructions for not letting me fall into that pitfall, because that would almost certainly have happened. Okay, so they glue on like so. Yeah, flush with the end, got you. I still don't know what these parts are gonna be. It's surely got to be something cylinder related, hasn't it? But I don't know. I think so. Right, put those to one side while they go harden. And next, oh no, bring them back, bring them back. There's something else to be done here. Because they're not a terribly tight fit, they are drooping. So really, we could have done with some sort of tool to hold those in position while they dry. Oh, what? Those pieces are supposed to be waxed. Does it not make much more sense to wax them before you glue them in a fragile way to the rest of the assembly? I think this is what you're supposed to do. And let's wax these. Are they still loose? Yeah, I'll just pull them out and wax them. Come on, that wasn't smart. This should have been an earlier instruction to wax these to start with. Just put that back in, and then we can move on to the next step. We can use the wax on these, and these look like these are going to be like the crossheads that actually move. So some wax goes on these. I don't know how much wax these are supposed to have. Are you supposed to just rub it over once? I'm going to town, making sure there's a good covering on there. Yeah, feels good. Feels slippery, which I think is the idea. Right, so obviously no glue. If you put glue on this, then you deserve to have bad things happen. Ooh. Oh, that's going to glue on. Oh, that's not good. So I've put one of those little washer things in there temporarily. Trying to keep those parts parallel there is not an easy task. But the best way to do that is to have the sort of cylinder bits, the crossheads attached. So yeah, I don't know. Oh, and we've got another part as well that will definitely help to do that. That's coming up next. Glue on the base. Great, so we now have something that's going to be holding these on parallel, which is good. And we have a moving cylinder, sort of. Don't want to move it too far because there's glue at one end of it, which I could do with removing actually. And the next section looks a little bit complex. So I don't think these parts move, which is a good sign. And that all sits on here. Like that, I think. Not that, it's these. Okay, let's glue those together then. So this is like the end of the cylinder, I think, I guess. And then that whole thing glues onto the top of this cylinder housing. Or what I'm calling a cylinder housing, hopefully not incorrectly. All right, glue. So that's a cylinder right there. So now I'll do the other one. This feels like quite a big moment now because we're going to be putting the moving piston into the cylinder, which is slightly terrifying, isn't it? So we don't glue the actual moving crosshead, obviously, because that would be silly. And then we do glue the cylinder assembly onto here, something like that. So I think this goes, it does say on the instruction, flat edge down. So we do that. There we go. I mean, this in itself is quite a nice object, isn't it? Like a proper moving cylinder. Right, so it seems like there are some big things happening right now on this next page. let me move my fragile little cylinders out of the way. The big boiler, nice and heavy that. And apparently the next thing to do is glue this piece into position. So let's put that on. Let's give that some force, stick it in. This is the step, I think, where it's really starting to take shape as a locomotive. Look at this. I mean, that is starting to look a bit rocketish, isn't it? Let's get that on the main camera. Yeah, we've got a foot plate. No, I can't balance it like that. Right, okay. So it says we've got two parts which are 40. I think these are the only ones that resemble that part. Yeah, and these go at an angle. So we've got to sand these so that they fit, apparently. Alright, I'm going to go in there like that. Awesome. Okay, I think those pieces ought to stay put when the glue goes off. There we go. Nice. It's looking good, it's coming together. Okay, now we have the big rod. Could be this one, Rod Stewart. It will be secure in there, so. And if I have to cut the end of this dowel off later on, then so be it, but. There we go. It's a big locomotive lollipop. Lovely. And that now dries for 20 minutes. And I've got to take off the anti-glue thingies. We drop the drop arm assembly into position like this. Cool. And then we've got the big moment of actually putting the wheel through. I think that is the next step. So here we go. It's a big moment for the rocket, for my rocket. We've got to try and get this friction wheel, or whatever it's supposed to be, in. Right, and then 14C, it says that we're supposed to glue part 29, that is the crank pin thingy, so that it is in alignment with the other part on the other front wheel. Now, I mean, if we're being technical about it, it should be 45 degrees from that. But there might be a reason why that's not to be. Okay, so I'm assembling the wheel and everything that goes on it before I try and thread it onto the axle. I mean, it's all supposed to be glued together, so it doesn't matter, I don't think, if I do it this way. So we'll do them in the down position, I guess. Okay, so the wheels are turning. And the instructions do say that that gear on the centre axle is supposed to be stuck on. So we'll be doing that in a second once this axle is dried. But as you can see, that is awesome. They are spinning fairly freely. This axle is oscillating a little bit, as the instructions said it should not. So I need to try and sort that out if possible. Put a little glue on there. Blimey, that was stressful. But I think somehow this is now together. And look, we've even got some sort of suspension going on here. That's pretty cool. Nice. Right, so we've got to leave that now for 20 minutes or so. So I think what we will do is we will leave this video here. Thank you very, very much for watching. This is basically exactly halfway through the build. So when we come back next time, hopefully we'll be able to finish this. I've been able to show you the wheels turning, so we know we have gotten somewhere. And then in a few videos time I will come back and finish this project, and hopefully I'll be able to finish off this kit and see how it looks all together. So thank you for watching. Oh, something's just dropped off this. I'll put it back on and I'll see you very soon. Alright, cheers everybody.